Hey guys, it's Daniel, licensed therapist. There's Something About Mary is such a hilarious movie. I love this movie. It's one of my favorites, and guess what? There's a therapy scene in there. And I've done a lot of reaction videos to movies, and what I found out was it's the comedies that actually have really good and accurate therapy scenes. It's a good way to have a little glimpse into what your guy goes through on a daily basis. And one of my favorites was this one from Step Brothers. But There's Something About Mary is such an over-the-top movie. Is this therapy scene going to be realistic at all? Well, let's check it out.
I worked all summer to pay off those debts, and I never saw Mary again. That was, what, like 13 years ago.
No, that's very interesting.
Wow, that is some ninja stuff right there. That is actually pretty cool. Not cool for the patient, but cool that he's able to do that. And it's only made possible because Ben Stiller is facing the other way. And what is going on here is it's kind of like an old school way of doing therapy. I'm sure you've seen pictures or tropes of it. It's the person staring up or looking away while they just talk. And what it is it is a psychodynamic or Freudian way of therapy where people just free associate. And the idea is by just talking, they'll work out their own problems. So although the situation is pretty absurd, the actual setup is actually fairly accurate. And I gotta say, the guy sneaking out to eat a sandwich or whatever and coming back is pretty hilarious, extremely unprofessional and disrespectful to their client. And obviously I would never do that. But part of me kind of wishes I was able to do that just because it was so impressive. Maybe just one time. Okay, let's move on.
Anyway, I know it's not the type of thing you'd forget, but I guess I must have blocked it out of my head or something, because I was driving down the highway last week and I started thinking about Mary, and all of a sudden it was like I couldn't breathe. I mean, I felt like I was gonna die. So I pulled off the road.
Man, this is hilarious. It's funny for me. I don't know if you guys find it funny, but I do think that this is what a lot of people picture about therapists and what's going on in therapy. The therapist is bored. The therapist is thinking about playing golf. The therapist is thinking, what's wrong with this guy? And you know what? I don't think it's that far off. When you're having a good session, you're in it. You enter this flow state and you are 100% present. And I have to say, it is actually a really, really cool and amazing feeling. But then there are those other times when it feels like you're trudging through the mud and it's a challenge to stay present. And that's our job though. We have to stay present for the client, even if it's challenging. Hey, we're human beings. It happens. So I feel like I can identify with this person, but this therapist just doesn't care. And he just full out goes for it, which is ideally not what a good therapist would do. Let's keep going.
And I just sort of stopped in this, I guess it was a rest area. I was just kind of shaking and...
You know, rest areas are homosexual hangouts. Highway rest areas. They're the bathhouses of the 90s for many, 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 many gay men.
So the word rest stop really triggers something in this guy. But although it's a comedy scene, I do think that there is an element of realism here. And let me tell you, as a therapist, part of my job is to guide the session. I determine where it goes, and I'm helping the client reach a place where he can process and ultimately find healing. But that doesn't always happen, because what we say and what we don't say is a clinical decision, and sometimes we inject ourselves into the session, and it's kind of jarring for the client. And he's thinking, or she's thinking, what are you talking about? Why are we talking about this? And how do we end up here? So they say that therapy is more of an art than it is a science, and we have to make these judgment calls and these decisions in these moments. And sometimes we just make a bad decision And that's just part of it.
So what are you saying?
Time she's up. We'll delve into that next week.
So this guy just yanks the rug right out from under Ben Stiller, and he's like, that's the time, get out of my office, which obviously isn't good. It's not something that we want to do. But there's this thing where clients will start to process something very, very deep and important, like the last 10 minutes of therapy. Sometimes clients just need time to warm up and to get there. And by the time it's towards the end of therapy, they feel like they can go for it. And I don't really blame them. But sometimes there's just not enough time to dedicate to that thing. So what we have to do as therapists is wrap up the session, get the client to a place where they're feeling good, and send them out there into the world. Because you don't know if they're gonna go to a big meeting, they're gonna go to see their family. We don't wanna just open them up and leave them raw. It's kind of like a doctor who needs to stitch up their patients so they can go out there and be okay and their organs aren't just hanging out everywhere. So at this point in therapy, what I would do is I would just kind of summarize what Ben Stiller is saying and say, hey, maybe we can talk about this next time, and just acknowledge that it is very important. All right, guys, I thought that scene was hilarious. I love doing a reaction to it. If you found it hilarious and you thought that this commentary was helpful for you, leave a like and subscribe. If you have any scenes that you find are hilarious, other therapist scenes, leave in the comments down there. Thanks for watching, you guys. I'll see you next time.